Okay, so an update with our Audi engine. We know it's out of the car, we know it's on the floor, but what we didn't know is how much damage we've had. So real quick, let me give you guys a kind of a rundown of what we're looking at here. So we've already taken everything apart. Everything's already unbolted. The timing chain is off. Okay, it's no longer connected, but to kind of review, you have a lower half of an engine. You have an upper half. Lower half is what holds the pistons. They go up and down in the cylinder, and the crankshaft. The crankshaft is what spins. Now when this crankshaft spins, it turns a chain that comes up on these cam gears, turns these gears and comes back down. And it works just like a bicycle chain. Well, it's called the timing chain because it keeps the two halves in time. It keeps them in sync. And what happens is when the upper half becomes out of sync with the lower half, you get some damage, and we'll show you that damage. But the pistons come in contact with parts in the valve train, usually the valves. So there's our engine. You got an upper half, lower half, and let's see what it looks like on the inside. Okay, so taking a little closer look, we've got our parts to the engine kind of separate. We've got the lower half on the ground still, but we've put our upper half up here so we can take a look. Here you have your head, the camshafts. On this valve cover setup, it actually holds the cams down onto the top of the head. If you look on top of the head, we've got these little assemblies here. You've got lifters on one side, and then you have the rocker arm assembly here, and you have this little wheel. Okay, those are called roller rockers. And what they do is they allow the camshaft to spin on top of it. As that timing chain spins, these lobes, okay, are going to come by. They're going to ride on that roller rocker. They're going to push down on this little spring, and they're going to open up. They're all going to fall out here, but they're going to open up the valve train. They're going to open up the valves. So, and the valves are on this side. I'll move the camera here so we can get a closer look. But that's how that works, and we'll show you why, when that becomes out of time, why that's a problem. You'll be able to see the damage here in just a minute. Okay, so I've turned the head upside down. This is our head. All right, and you can see these little circles here. Those are the valves. Those are what open and close, and they're the top of the cylinder. So what you'll notice is these all look open. They all appear to be open, and these set all appear to be closed. Okay, if you look real close, you'll see that this circle is overlapping here. This one's overlapping. It's overlapping. Well, these should actually be allowed to drop down and sit in what's called the valve seat. Sit right in that little hole there. Okay? Now, because the piston came up and made contact with those valves, it bent them and pushed them over, and now they can no longer do that. So when your engine becomes out of time, the top half usually becomes damaged, and that's what's happened here. So if we go over to our engine, okay, so we're looking at the short block here. You're looking at the lower part of the engine, and that's what holds your pistons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead and crank that over, right? So up and down we go, and that's how a 4-stroke engine works. You get an explosion in the cylinder. It drives the piston down. Piston comes up. It actually expels the exhaust, and the whole cycle starts over again. Ryan, if you'll bring this one up to top 10. So you can see on your piston that there's actually damage where those valves made contact. All right, and on this poor guy here, you can actually see right in this corner, it actually damaged the piston. And the problem with that is as that's going up and down, because that piston is now damaged, it'll damage the bore of the cylinder. And that needs to have a nice seal, so the combustion of the gases actually push that down and don't escape past it. So that's how it works. Unfortunately for this one, it had catastrophic damage, so we're going to end up replacing the engine. It's got both head damage and lower assembly damage. So sad story, but That's a good reason why we need to perform our maintenance on our cars. This engine only had 80,000 miles before it failed, so real sad, but that's the way it goes with automotive repair. Okay, so the question of the day: how do we avoid catastrophic engine damage? How do we avoid timing chain failure? There's two types of engine: chain driven, belt driven. The engine in the video was a timing chain engine, obviously. That timing chain is lubricated by engine oil. The guides are lubricated. The tensioner runs off of hydraulic pressure from the oil system. So we need to keep the oil in our cars clean. We need to keep the particulates floating around in that system from getting into areas where it shouldn't be. And the way we do that is with an oil change. So if we want to avoid mechanical failure where lubrication is needed, we need to do our oil changes. Recent trend from manufacturers of oil, from manufacturers of cars, is to go 10,000 miles, 15,000 miles on oil. We would say that that's probably ill-advised. An oil change is an inexpensive way of keeping the internals of your engine lubricated. It's an inexpensive way of kind of paying into a little bit of insurance for that engine and making sure it stays running for 100, 150, 200,000 miles. Cost of an engine on this Audi is going to be $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. I don't really know. Cost of an oil change, a synthetic oil change on this car, $90. So you can do the math. $90 for an oil change every 5,000 miles, or $6,000 for an engine that we have not really taken care of. So for more videos like this, some how-tos, DIY, informative stuff on cars, stay tuned to our channel. Do us a favor, click on the link, subscribe, look for upcoming videos. And thanks for watching. We're passionate what we do at Casey's, and would like to share it, so thank you.